All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to have a lot of fun today. This is Rosie Ayers, and she's going to be talking about theater in the classroom. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and also thank you to Blackfoot Communications for sponsoring the conference. If anybody has any questions at any point, please don't hesitate to let me know in the chat, and I'll be here to help with anything that I can. Here we go. Rosie, whenever you're ready.
Excellent. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here at 9:30 a.m. And after months and months of massive amount of Zoomings, we all have a tiny bit of Zoom fatigue from time to time, but I guarantee that this will be quick and painless, and it's great to see some familiar faces. It's always fun to get to be with teachers and educators across the state, and I would love to know a tiny bit about you, and so that I can make sure that we hit some of the material that we need to during this quick session today. But just to give you an overview, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going to talk a little bit about arts integration and theater integration. I'm sure some of you are just as amazing experts at this as I am in this field. So if I'm repeating information you already know, please just forgive me. I'll try to be quick and at least interesting about it. And I'll be giving you a few examples of some of the theater games that I love to play in classrooms as a Spark theater teaching artist and a Montana Arts Council theater teaching artist and theater director, and give you some ideas on how to do any of that here, if this is where we have to do any of it. Because if we're lucky, we'll get to do some things in person. But the great news is that we can still stay enthusiastic about getting to interact here as well. I created a whole bunch of really totally ridiculous videos as soon as COVID hit last spring, and some of those are available on the Spark Arts Learning website, which is pretty easy to find, and I'll have that in the presentation at the end. And more videos are to come to be that will be on there in the next month. So if you need any of those resources or little things to even inspire you on how to make some terrible videos yourself, my videos will be up to inspire you for that. And I'm so desperately impressed that you guys are here on Friday of a hot August week. With all of that, oh yay, I get to see what some of you are doing. So we have K1 teachers and Clinton, who doesn't love Clinton Elementary School? Thank you for being here. Yeah. First grade, third grade. I see a lot of elementary school teachers here today. So yeah, let me see if there's anything else. But yeah, please keep dumping it in the chat. Ooh, Spanish, middle school and high school. I have a lot of great Spanish lessons too. First, second, fourth, Knoxon. Man, that's middle of nowhere. Way to go. Everybody loves you, Charlo. Hi, Mary. Good to see you. 7th and 8th grade. Oh, gosh. I think that's just before they really turn. And right now I have 4 children somewhere in my house. So if somebody appears because they can't find their shoes or they're hungry, I'm just kind of hoping that some of them sleep in today as usual. So, and there's, I'm going to try to give you guys some easy resources on how to do some plays virtually, or how to just integrate a little bit of theater and social emotional learning into your classroom. So just when you think you're going to lose your minds, whether that is because we're having to Zoom or because we're having to work in this new hybrid of being together and apart a little differently than usual, that hopefully we'll get some exciting things to inspire you. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen and tossing on this tiny presentation. So if you need a break from your video, feel free to take one now. It's always nice to have a little bit of a break from our Zoom video. Let's see here. Just need to hit my presentation button, which all of these little things are everywhere on here. Thank you guys for bearing with me. Just need to move my bar. Here we go. Oh man. Here we go. Thank you. So theater integration, really very simply, theater integration is the ability to bring a little bit of arts into our everyday classroom, to be able to balance the curriculum in our classrooms with some theater skills. So why do we do that? I love theater especially because it is the ultimate immersive art form. It targets every sense simultaneously. And theater is not just performance, it's playwriting, set design, costuming, lights, sound, and many more aspects of the production are a part of the whole. And in that way, this idea of collaboration, that everybody has a role and a purpose. And I really think that collaboration is the highest form of education and of art in general. And when we're teaching our kids how to collaborate and that they have a specific purpose in every project, we are also teaching them that they have purpose in the world. And forgive me because I get a little bent on the side of emotionalism and social emotional learning. I just believe that being an educator, especially in public education these days, it really is so much more than what our test scores say. Although we want them to be high, we also know that what we are doing is we are nurturing whole human beings. And in order to do that, we need to be able to find a way to marry all of these things together and really give kids a purpose. And never was there a time more obvious about that than there was now. So this just shows a tiny Venn diagram of how we talk about arts integration, that we try to find some curriculum, engineering, math, science, literacy, all of those things, right? And we try to balance it by adding an art form in order to be the vehicle to teach those things. Dance, music, theater, puppetry, all those. Now, my undergrad is in performing arts. It is in acting and directing in the theater, and I have a minor in photography and sculpture. And my master's degree is in integrated arts and education. The Kennedy Center, most of you have already seen this before, especially if you're an MCPS teacher. It's just a great thing to remember, is that arts integration is an approach to teaching. It's not something outside of what you do. It's an approach to teaching in which students construct and demonstrate understanding through an art form. Students engage in a creative process which connects an art form and another subject area and meets evolving objectives in both. So there's a lot of buzzwords there for all of that, right? But the big part is that students construct. They build something, they create something, and then they demonstrate what they have been learning. They demonstrate their understanding, and they don't just demonstrate it by regurgitating or filling in a circle on a test. They do it through art, through an art form, even if it's as simple as playwriting or public speaking, whether they have drawn a picture. You know, there's so many different art forms that they can come into. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the basic warm-ups that I use in arts integration, and these can be used with any subject that you have. The first one is just called Yes and for the time being, I'm going to let's see here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and talk to you about yes and. The yes and game is one of the very first games that I play with kids because it's about acceptance. It's about saying yes to someone else instead of saying, no, I don't like your idea, which is the basis of all collaboration. And when it comes to that piece, I'm gonna pick on somebody, and it's gonna be easy because I already know their name, and even though their video is off, I don't doubt. Annika, can you find your way back to your screen for a minute and play this ridiculous game with me for a minute? Be my demonstrator. She said yes.
I am.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks for being my on-the-spot guinea pig. Zoom is like the
Sure.
most ridiculous classroom to have to, pick on people.
It's okay. It's a good experience.
Exactly. Um, so the game of yes and is a simple storytelling game. So I always start out by saying, in this game, we are just going to tell a story together, Annika and I. And we are going to do that by saying yes and at the beginning of every sentence that we follow. And then we talk about a story beginning. Everybody knows a different story beginning, once upon a time in a galaxy long, long ago, far, far away. And then I ask kids to tell me the beginning of a story last Tuesday, earlier this morning, or my sister stole my. There's lots of different ways to start this story. Annika, do you have any good story startings, anything recently that comes to mind? Any way that you could start a story that's completely not true?
Yes. And the other day I was walking on top of Flathead Lake, and the Flathead Lake monster came up and gave me a ride.
Yes, and that Lake monster took you all the way to Woodby Island. And on Woodby Island was a never-ending supply of chocolate and wine and relaxation. And your family was nowhere to be seen, but you knew that they were somewhere happily enjoying clouds and cotton candy and cleaning the house without you. And then Anik would say, yes, and?
Yes. And the clouds came down while I was relaxing and found their way underneath me and lifted me up and carried me away to Never Never Land, where I never had to do any dishes ever again.
The
And
end.
the end.
Large clapping. A very simple structure story where we just say yes and to anything. Now we can start that story in several different ways. If we were talking about math functions that week, right? We might start the story with 17 days ago, I had 5 cherries. If we want to add any kind of element in there that might have to do with something we recently have been talking about. 100 years ago, a horse was making its way across the plains. Yes, and. So we can find ways to start the story that might have to do with anything that's going on in our curriculum. I had 5 apples the other day, and my best friend wanted 3, but she had already eaten 4 plums. We can find ways to integrate any of those ideas into this yes and game. But for kids, the biggest part about this is in a collaboration. I'm teaching them right off the bat of saying yes. Anything that you give me, I say yes. Instead of saying, no, I don't like apples. No, I don't want to play with that. No, that your family didn't clean the house, right? We get to say yes, and we are adding to in that collaboration. And that's what we want the kids to learn how to do. That's what we as adults want to learn how to do. I've been sitting on a lot of city council meetings lately, and I wish that they had the yes and button. They need to be able to say, yes, that's a great idea. And could we do it this way? Could we add this piece, right? Oh yeah, OPI. Let's go to OPI and have that discussion with them. That's a great idea. Thank you, Kathy. Absolutely. We need a lot more yes anding in our society, but instead of the no, but. And that makes kids feel listened to by their partners. It makes us feel listened to. Maybe I should start trying this with my husband. This is a great idea. I'm getting all sorts of things. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to talk about the next game. So that's a really simple thing. Does anybody, I'm going to look at the chat real quick and see if anybody has any questions about the yes and game. I see you're now asking questions about OPI credits, but I'm just going to go back up and make sure that there's not any other questions that I have missed about yes and. So I'll give you just one more minute. Okay, perfect. Grand. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, and we'll get back to the little presentation. So the next one that I like to play in a classroom is just called Who, What, and Where. I know that sounds ridiculously simple. It's just about the basics of story structure. When we're talking about writing a story or performing a story or gathering facts to understand a piece of history or some context, we need to know who, we need to know where, and we need to know what. So very simply, when I am in person in a classroom, I like to put kids in a big circle or adults, whoever I'm teaching, and we just ask this question over and over again: who, what, who, where, and what. You know, who could a character be? Who's somebody that we could just pick out? Is it Daffy Duck? Is it the principal of our school? Is it our best friend's stuffed animal? And then we ask, well, where are they? Where is some place that they would be that would be unexpected? A gas station on Mars, shrunk super tiny and inside of my desk. And then we say, what are they doing there? They're making popsicles. They're devising the world's most intense mathematical problem. They're solving COVID-19. Who knows what they could be doing? So just in that, we're gonna play a 1-minute round of who, what, and where. So in that, you know that I'm going to do my best to call on people who have their videos on. So quickly turn off your video if you don't want to participate. This is like the kid in the classroom who quickly looks away, right? And this is just a simple improv game. So on my screen, Chelsea is first. So Chelsea, could you just tell us any random character? It could be a real person, or it could be a fictional person. Or maybe even a talking animal. So we just need a character for our story. So could you just unmute yourself and tell us a who?
Bigfoot.
Excellent, Bigfoot. Sarah Shaw, would you tell us where unexpectedly we have run into Bigfoot? Where is Bigfoot?
He is paddleboarding on Canyon Ferry.
Totally, I get this, yes. Karen Peterson, could you tell us a little bit more about what happened when Bigfoot was paddleboarding on Canyon Ferry, which is one of my favorite lakes for sure. Just find your unmute button and think about what, just give us a little what.
So he was singing. He was singing a beautiful, beautiful song that had actually 2 parts. And the second part is a female part. And he could hear some music under the water. And sure enough, it was the monster of Canyon Ferry.
Woo! Excellent. Excellent. Fabulous. So we're just going to shake that one off. Let's have an entirely new who. Like if we were completely to forget that story and come up with a brand new set of characters. Carolyn, would you be willing to tell us a whole brand new character, fictitious or real, either way, a character for our story? Just, I'm sure you, a who.
It was a beautiful unicorn.
A unicorn. Everybody loves a unicorn. At least in the 3rd grade, everybody loves a unicorn. How about Denise Montgomery? Denise, would you like to tell us some unexpected place that this unicorn was?
So this unicorn, Ursula is her name. Ursula appeared in my classroom overnight.
Excellent. In your classroom. So in Denise's classroom is a unicorn. Now this could go either way. Mary, maybe you could just really quickly tell us what happened next. What was that unicorn doing in the classroom? Why did it appear over there overnight?
Oh, that unicorn had to come make its way to the library and read stories to all my children at story time.
Yes. Leave it to the librarian. She'll always bring it back to the books. Yay, literacy. Thank you, Mary. Excellent. Such a simple game, and you can play it over and over again. It gets the kids' ideas just absolutely starting to spark. And the fact that you switch and let one of them kind of give the yes and piece to the next part of that story, you can keep going. So even if you start to build that story and it becomes a neat story and you guys want to keep playing yes and making that story bigger and bigger, you can, or you can drop that and keep brainstorming ideas of who, what, where. This is a great builder if you're about to have to write a story for any reason, right? Or if you just need an activity that focuses the kids back together, and that popcorn style of being able to call on everybody gets them re-engaged. So if they're busy, like, looking off in the corner, or on Zoom, they get kind of, that bored Zoom look where they're somewhere else. This popcorn style is something quick and easy where we're just answering who, what, where, and you have to pay attention, gets them all to come back and focus in again. So that's an easy game to play in person or on Zoom anytime. I'm just going to share my screen again so we can look at the next game. The next one is object interview. I call this a low risk game for both online and in person. And we can use current curriculum to build it out, right? And in that, object interview is exactly what it sounds like. You have an interviewer and you have an object that has been animated, that we give it, we personify an object. We give it a life, a backstory. Now, if you're using this for a scientific piece, we can easily take a plant and we can talk about the facts of what that plant is, or what that device could be. Even a globe, we can talk about the different parts of the globe. A compass rose, one of my favorite lessons to teach with second graders is north, south, east, and west, our cardinal directions. I love to talk about directions. I know that sounds dorky, but we give each one of those directions an attitude and an assignment. The north is the rock star because it always wants to be looked at. The spies are in the south because the south is sneaky and it's always opposite of the north. And the east are the morning coffee drinkers because that's where the sun comes up, and they're the ones who are getting everything done. And the west are a bunch of wild unicorn riding cowboys and cowgirls. And in that, the object interview is really simple, right? It is finding something nearby. And on Zoom, it's easy enough because the kids, it's low risk because they could even leave the frame, and we could just see the object. Hello, good morning. I am a brilliant piece of glasses. And being a pair of glasses has been the best experience of my life because, number one, I get to see the entire world, and not even just the world in my house, but the world through the screen of my computer, which has an endless amount of information. It's super dorky, and we love it, right? Thank you. Oh, thank you. Now, the best part of object interview is we can start to ask it question. Who's your best friend? Where do you live? What do you hate? Oh, greasy noses, not getting clean fingerprints. I mean, they could come up with all sorts of things of what they hate. Where do you live? Every night I get stuck in a dark drawer. Who's next to you in the dark drawer? Oh, the notebook. And the notebook, oh, it's got all the highlighting and colors next to it, right? What is your biggest fear? Getting lost, getting broken, right? And you can take objects from your kitchen. If there is something you're currently using, I wish I had something more interesting in my office right now. But if there is something that you can find that expands what you're learning at this point, especially if solids, liquids, and gases, find something liquid. My name is Coffee. Oh, I just totally spilled coffee on my computer because that is exactly how I create. Just spilling things everywhere. But even the simplicity of being able to be the coffee in that, right? And talk about, and using those different voices, using our brains to expand that. And you can model those things so simply. You can have the children or the students ask you the questions, right? And especially if you have an object that is a part of a scientific or social studies lesson, right? Or even a calculator, that they can ask the calculator questions, and you can bring up particular facts that you need them to know. So it can go both ways in that aspect. Sam, I'm just gonna double check the chat and see if if I have missed way too many things. I don't know.
Nope, I've been
saying really nice things to me. All right. Sounds
I've
great.
been watching it.
Thank
I'll
you.
let you know. Yeah.
Try to pay attention to so many things. So object interviews are really simple, and I'm also going to look at the time. Oh gosh. Okay, good. We got plenty of time.
We do have a question, Rosie. Are there any handouts that you have?
I don't have handouts, but here's the truth. Email me, because I have all of these things. I do have, like game descriptions. I have all of these slides. I have like 10 times that amount of information, as well as just these slides that I can send you. So, feel free to just email me. I'll put my email at the end, and I'll try to leave it up as well. But it's a really simple email. It's rosiesightsayers@gmail.com, but I'm also on the Spark website as well. So if you need to get a hold of me, everybody knows that, you can almost find my number written on every art bathroom wall, is kind of how this goes around town. Throw a rock around Missoula and say Rosie Ayers, and I will magically appear. That is just, you can find me. Oh, thank you for laughing, even though I can't hear any of your laughter on Zoom. Zoom is like the worst audience participation ever, because I can never hear the laughing, and that is how I teach, it turns out. But I am trying not to go too far with the dark humor, because this is an educational conference. So I'm going to, unless anybody is desperate to make their some object near them talk right now and have us interview them, I'll move on to the next game. But I'll just wait a moment in case someone is like, I cannot wait to do this right this moment. It is a fun one. Obviously, I just spent 2 minutes making my glasses stay completely stupid things. Thank you. I'm so glad we can see Denise and Mary were both laughing right up there. RJ, you guys are also being so kind to me. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and head to the next game. And we're, because I really want a moment with you guys to talk about some ideas and inspire you about what's going to happen in a couple of weeks as well. So the next one is story. We've already kind of gotten there. It's just a differentiation of yes and. I start with yes and because acceptance is the key. Getting kids to say yes to the next piece of story and getting their brains to go on to the next piece. Story can be done word by word for kindergartners and first graders who are brand new to this, or it can go sentence by sentence, and it can also be differentiated for the kids that you have as well, right? Like one kid may be way into like giving you 17 sentences of what happens next in the story, not that we want them to dominate the conversation, and another kid may only have 2 words to say. Once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away was an alien who felt lonely, and I think that story is one of the best places to bring up social emotional learning. Whatever you think these kids are having trouble with, anxiety, uncertainty, stress, feeling alone, isolation, all of those things are happening right at this moment. Oh, let's not cry. Let's not go into all that. But story is a great place to get both your content in that you need for your classroom, to introduce ideas like north, south, east, and west, traveling, and to get in our social emotional learning, to get into that piece that says, hey, when you feel bullied, when you feel alone, when you feel afraid, when you don't know how to talk up, when you need to find your confidence, here's a story that we can kind of tailor towards that. And you guys will you guys will know your own classrooms best. Ooh, hey, I've got like too many screens going on. Hold on just a second. You guys will know your classrooms best. Even if these are new students to you this year, you'll know them best. You'll be able to tell pretty quickly if there's that one kid that just wants to talk about poop, right? And we'll say, oh, that was really interesting, but now for something having nothing to do with poop, we're gonna go to some girl named Madison, because most likely she won't talk about poop, statistically saying. Not many girls I know named Madison talk about poop. Or if we need to balance the story out in calling people through, right, in story, we can easily get to the next piece. So that's really simple, and I don't want to spend any more time on that one unless anybody has any questions about story. It's just a version of yes and expanded in many ways to be about the whole story instead of just, you know, back and forth very quickly. It's a whole classroom. It's a giant circle. It's an entire Zoom meeting where everybody gets to say either one word or one sentence, and we try to get through everybody so that everybody has participation, and differentiating it for the kids, because we all know that success for little Micah in the back may mean that they just say, and then he went outside. The end. How phenomenal. Way to go, Micah, right? All right, I'm sharing my screen again. I'm getting really good at this. Whew. The next one is the I say, you say. This I use as a warm-up game. This is something that I use to further curriculum or to try to just do the same thing that Who, What, Where does in generating ideas. I say, you say. I say peanut butter, you say jelly. Peanut butter, jelly, peanut butter, jelly, peanut butter, jelly. So yeah, I'm gonna make you guys play this game. So so I'm just gonna ask I'm just gonna ask Dorinda, would you mind putting your microphone on for just a moment? Okay, so this is really silly, right? We can do it whole class, but on Zoom, it sounds like 10,000 mice in your tiny ears. But it can be passed around one person at a time. So, you know, what we want to do is we want to use a different voice, and we want to think about things that go together or that sound funny together, right? So I might say, I say continental, you say Congress. Continental.
Congress.
Continental.
Congress.
Continental.
Congress.
So I always do it 3 times, because if it's vocabulary, it's nice that it gets it in our heads, right? If it's just peanut butter and jelly, it's nice for people to get to try it out 3 times, because the first time, as you saw with Dorinda, we're going to be a little more reserved. I'm going to go, do I have to do that voice? Do I have to make my face look funny? Right? So by the 3rd time of saying it, I'm going to be bigger. I'm going to have expanded my brain and gotten some of the wiggles out. And I'm okay with sounding a little silly because the other person in the square sounds silly, right? So then Dorinda is going to think of something that is 2 words. I say blank, you say blank, right? I say kitty, you say dog. Or it could be something much bigger, right? I say, you know, and of course I use Continental Congress because that is something that I teach, right? In the higher up grades, but it could be just about darn near anything. Dorinda, can you come up with something for I say, you say? Notice I've been talking and expanding, not even making her quite be on the spot yet, so that I can give her time to think. I'm kind of an expert at that. I just like waste time a little bit because I can see her brain working, and I can see right now that she has an idea. So she's going to pick on somebody else on the screen, hopefully somebody who hasn't been, to unmute their microphone, and she's going to do I say, you say with them, and I can help out if you need.
Okay. Let's go Sarah Shaw.
Okay.
Okay. I say salt, you say pepper. So do I say it again?
So there you go, salt, but we want to say it with the voices. So if you say, I say salt, You say pepper. So you want to say it from the very beginning with your weird voice, right?
Okay.
I know. This is what we did in the mirror.
You're awesome at
as
these
children,
voices. I'm
when
not so good
nobody
at.
was- Oh, Doreen, you're wonderful at them. I already know that about you.
Okay. I say salt. You say pepper.
Salt.
Salt.
Peppa.
Salt.
Peppa.
Salt.
Peppa.
Simple. Wow, so simple, right? We can do this for 45 minutes. We could just make Sarah come up with one, and then she would have to do it with somebody else. Somebody else would have to come up with one, right? You could give kids a list of vocabulary and say, you can only pick off this list of words, and you get to pick one and say one, and somebody else has to pick one and say one, right? Even being able to say it out loud, right? Any of that is just grand. And these are like, sight words that we're going to need to learn. These are vocabulary terms for our science lesson. They are north, south, east, and west, cardinal directions. They are things about Missoula history. I mean, you can do any of that, or it can just be silly. It can just be peanut butter and jelly, salt and pepper, not, no big deal. Minecraft, Fortnite. I mean, I just say those words and children go crazy. I don't even have to play those games. I just have to say them and they go crazy. It's such a strange world. Yeah, exactly. Synonyms. Yes, thank you, Sarah Shaw. Like if you can come up with synonyms or antonyms or, so many different ideas that you can use this game for. I say, you say. I mean, it sounds ridiculously simple, and it is. And using voices just gets them a little bit further, right? It helps to bring it from the front of their brain to the middle of their brain, and it helps them to really synthesize and then put it in their body. And we know anything that they put in their body, it stays in there a little bit longer. Okay. So let's look at the next game. Thanks for playing, you guys. You guys are being such great sports. There's somebody with their video off that's thinking, thank God I kept my video off right now. And I'm thankful because it takes all kinds. Oh, not news. Here we go. This is the last game I want to talk about. And then I want to talk about creating some lessons and get some ideas from you guys as well. Not news. What is something that happened lately that would never make the local news, right? So we're going to do a little bit of a news report. So right now, I want you to think about your household, think about your life in the last week. Right now, we have tons of news going on in the world. But what is not news? What is something that there's no way it would ever make it to your local news? And this is a great way for kids to practice speaking, practice taking turns, right? Get to be seen, get to be heard, generate those ideas without a lot of intensity about content, without a lot of having to feel heavy about something, right? This is just like one of those great morning activities because there's going to be somebody who wants to talk about their day. In other not news, I still don't care whether or not we put sharp knives into the dishwasher. Yet my husband is still on the campaign to keep them out. For more information on this, I'll go to me. Hi, yes, and I don't care about the science of how dull it makes the knives. If I'm loading the dishwasher, you can't tell me what to do, right? In other, not news. That's not news, okay? I'm not going to put the silly and ridiculous, right? So I'm going to need a few people that have some not news to share right now. Now this takes us to the point. I love that someone just turned their camera on because they're like, I got some not news. Number one, they are still peeing on the seat in my bathroom. It's not news. They walk out of there. I mean, it's like I live with 4 boys. They haven't even seen it. They haven't seen it, right? But this gives us an opportunity to say hello and welcome to Not News. It gives us a voice. It gets us connected with something that we're all familiar with, the news. It's on all the time. It gives kids the ability to report on something. It gives them the levity, which, gosh darn, right now we could use all the levity we can find, right? So Not News is a great way to process all the things. In Not News, my brother stole the controller for my Xbox for the 75th time this week. Not news. Turns out our mother doesn't even care, nor is she Judge Judy. She's not even going to help me, right? Not news. So I love that you guys have some
Rose,
not news.
Rose, Denise is gonna fall out of her chair.
She is. Denise, private show for you later. Oh, dang it. Francis's camera's not working because Francis really wants to be on. So it looks like to me that Kara had some not news. Is that true, Kara? You had some serious not news. So I would like to turn this over to our anchor at Kara Z's house. Kara Z, we are live to your sector. Could you please give us a report on what is not news in your sector?
Yes, hello. Today on Not News, my daughter yet again threw all of her food on the floor and did not eat any of it.
Waste not, well, just waste. Thank you, Kara. Who else has not news? We have many correspondents here today. Let's see here. I feel like somebody else has some not news. Go ahead and unmute yourself and just begin. Not news correspondents all over the place. Francis, even though yours, oh, here we go. We have not news from Miss Anderson.
Yes, hello, and welcome to Maloney Ranch. Recently, we just got a new huge garbage can, and awkwardly, I have to move my car each time to move the garbage can out to the street. It is extremely inconvenient, and my husband hates it. Now, back to you.
Thank you. That not news was trashy. Sorry, bad pun. I don't even, Mary, stop laughing. You're just encouraging me to say these ridiculous things. Not news is a great way to start your day, right? I mean, what could be better than talking to your kids about not news? It just, it eases it up. And, you know, we're going to expect some kid to tell us something that actually is heart-wrenching and probably true. But in this, it brings that levity. We can go to our correspondence all over the place, and I can't wait to see how this works because I haven't actually used it on Zoom yet. I just came up with this stuff because, as we know, it's just never news when the same thing happened for the 75th time. Yet you're so incensed about it or find it hilarious, you know. So please use not news and tell me how it works in your virtual classrooms, because this is the next thing I'm gonna force the people at my staff meeting to do next week. Not news. Although I think some people, oh yes, Denise, I'm glad you have boys. You know exactly what this is like. I don't know, they have a natural aiming device attached to their bodies, yet for some reason it is the most, it doesn't matter what age they are, it's just absolutely impossible. It baffles the mind. If anyone here of the other gender has anything to say about that, we'd be happy to understand if there's some experts out there who could explain that to us. Okay, side note, we only have like 10 minutes left, so I should probably get to the end of my yeah, so we've got potty training going on. That's so awesome. Oh, see, I believe in you. You teach him, Rachel, how to clean it up now so that you can be incensed when he's in 5th grade and still not cleaning it up. Lysol wipes by every toilet. It's true. I still have them there. It's hard in COVID, man. When they disappeared, oh, I should have really stocked up. Okay, so back to sharing my screen and getting you guys back to this presentation. I'm so glad that you guys are up for getting derailed. I hope this is more interesting than whatever happened in your last session. Okay, so creating a lesson. We're just going to talk really briefly about creating a lesson. You either pick the subject or you pick the art. You pick the concept or you pick the skill. You can start from any point, right? So, but just pick your starting point. I didn't even read this for, I didn't even read my presentation last night at midnight for errors. So if we see some misspellings, you know, I think you guys are just going to like me anyway. Identify the curricula and art. Create your vocabulary list. Develop your learning targets. Define your culminating activity. Okay, that's like a long list of whatever, right? You guys already know these things. You've been doing them forever. You're the experts when it comes to education and making these lessons. But what I really want to talk to you about is how do you start? How do you start creating a lesson? How do you pick the subject? How do you pick the art? How do you pick the concept? How do you pick the skill? And that is tricky. I am going to take us to my profile. Ha ha, look at that. I think you guys can see that, right? So here I am. Look at that picture. I mean, it's a really well done picture. My husband took it in our bathroom one day. I can't believe that he made that great of a picture because he's never taken that good of a picture before or after. And even though it's done in my bathroom, and you guys all know that now, I'm just going to leave it. It's just one of the best ones. Even my professional headshots don't look that good. So here we are. This is the sparkartslearning.org website. And here you can see that there is my profile. And on my profile, I have this great little session. Oh, you can read about me. I'm a teaching artist. I grew up in Helena. I have degrees. I direct all over the state. I went on a 50 city-wide tour of Montana last year talking about suicide prevention in a funny way, which is a really exhausting yet important thing to do. And now I have a big job with United Way, but I can't stop doing theater and teaching because that's really what I want to do with my life. But beyond that, here is what I wanted to show you is I have sample lesson plans. Steal these, use these, or hire me to come do them. But whatever way you want to use them, we just want our kids to be able to get them. So I'm just going to show you one of them very briefly. And this is our fun with fractions. My dad is a math teacher. He is the most brilliant math teacher that you'll ever meet. Dick Seitz out of Helena. And there he is, Richard Seitz. On there, and NCTM. And this is really like, don't even bother reading this. This is like just boring things that your brain has to look at, right? But what I can tell you is that I can help you make a lesson if you need some ideas, right? And in here, we want to look at the enduring ideas: comprehension, community, unity, peer support, and collaboration. That's what the math lesson about? Yes, that is what the math lesson is about. The math lesson is about supporting each other and collaborating. That's the whole point of education, right? We want you to learn what 3/4 is. We want you to learn what a half is. You're going to need that. But most of all, I want you to learn how to take care of each other and collaborate. Can we do that? That sounds great. There's the Common Core standards. They're so boring. I can't even make you look at them. Please stop. And then we have the teacher activity, the teaching artist activity, and what we're expecting the students to do. So essentially in my fractions lesson, I use story. I use yes and story so that we can act out story problems in reality. We become the 12 parts of the pencil. We become the car that gets cut into 3 parts. We become the pizza that we share with a group of bats, you know, and in doing so, we put it in our bodies. We put fractions in our bodies to be able to understand how to do it. Really simple. But you can go to my website and you can look at those. You can call me, text me, email me, find me anytime to talk about those. What I'm most interested in is so far in all of this with these games that we just played that I ran through like really fast, and you're going to be like, what was that called again? What was that game again? And just even the idea of picking a piece of curriculum and a piece of art, whether it's theater or whether maybe it's movement or puppetry. I mean, I've done puppetry. It's weird, but it's exciting. I mean, certainly in this realm, right? In the Zoom realm, shadow puppets, creating things, even, Kleenexes that look like puppets, put eyes on these things, right? Or have people draw on them right away. And you guys can make like ridiculous hanky puppets. I mean, that seems like it's totally just primed for Zoom. I would love to hear your ideas and thoughts about something that you got today from this, or something you were even reminded about that you've already done, that would be useful in your own classroom, whether it's with a bunch of seniors who are snarky and ready to get out the door, and are so exhausted and confused, or whether it's with your kindergartners who can't sit still. Is there one of these games or one of these ideas that you could find a way to use in your classroom this year? And I'm just going to be quiet for a minute, and I'm going to let you, pulsers, we do love pulsers. I'm just going to let you guys pop on and tell us. It looks like Karen's already ready. She's already got her microphone on.
Yes. Oh, well, I love all the activities. I can see many ways to use them. So I'm so excited. Personification is a very hard concept for kids to understand. But if we do that object interviews, they will get it. And I had a question about, I had a play. I try to do 4 plays a year. And of course, my last play, which some of the kids were so excited to be in, we couldn't do because we went into this virtual learning. What would you suggest for a play? It had about 19 characters. What would your suggestions be to pull that off?
What age range is it?
10 years old, 5th grade.
Okay, great. My favorite thing to do is to find readers, theaters, plays if we have to do it in Zoom. Right. And that helps kids do a couple of things. If you do a readers theater play in the first 2 weeks back in a virtual classroom, or even in a regular classroom, it helps them with behavior and manners. In that way that we're taking turns, we're learning how to actively listen so we can be ready to speak on our next line, right? Instead of just not paying attention in the back. If we are stuck in Zoom, right, it gives us the ability to learn about muting and unmuting and the really basics of that, right? And it gets us kind of used to trying to pay attention and at the same time tracking a story that's interesting. And I find that readers theater really works, especially for kids who aren't advanced readers. In fact, sometimes those kids get it better than the other kids. The kids who really struggle with reading are sometimes more fluid when they're trying to do a character, when they are trying to use a little character voice, when they're trying to be a part of the story in a new way. And being able to follow along on a piece of paper and follow along with a class or on a Zoom is really essential. And Teresa Waldorf at the University of Montana, she is the educational outreach coordinator. She's also my comedy partner and best friend. She's doing great in quarantine, in case any of you know her and want to know how she's doing. She's hanging in. She's at my house almost every day. And we're going to slip and slide tomorrow, in case anybody wants to come. Backyard, her house. And she has access to so many scripts, and they're already printed. They're things that we can send by PDF. They're things that we can print and we can put in packets for kids to take home. Those are so great and easy. We can screen share if a kid can't find his, right? There's all those options that can be hard copies and full. But right now, in the middle of all this, I personally probably wouldn't try to make a huge performance where people had to learn their lines. It's just, there's so much overwhelmingness. So, and Karen, if you email me, I can also send you to the Kennedy Center, has a bunch of open source readers theater plays, and you can organize them by science, math, social studies, and grade. And that's really cool.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh, let's see here. There's been lots of questions that have come in, but feel free to, oh yes, okay. Let's plan some kids focus. Take that, yeah. I'm just reading your responses. So if somebody wants to jump in and talk about something that they got today, that'd be great. Vocabulary and diction, woo. History vocab. Okay. Well, I read all the comments just now. I was gonna end just 5 minutes early so that you guys can get to your next session. So that gives us 2 minutes remaining. I'm gonna share my screen again so that you guys all have an opportunity to just check out the last slide and my email address. You can email me. There's one that I use for Spark that's on the Spark website, and the one that's just my name. It doesn't matter. You're going to find me any way that you get there. So I'm just going to give you, oh yeah, look at this. I have to get all the way back to where that screen was. Oh, maybe. Here it is. All right, good. So just this last slide, that it just reminds you guys, thank you so much. This was actually one of the most fun things I've gotten to do in days, maybe months. And take care of yourself, because when you find joy in creating, you find that joy not just for yourself, but for your students. It's that whole simple thing of when you take care of yourself, you're going to have more to give. So please take some time for yourself, because art is essential, and so are you. We really can't do what's next without you guys. We need you so much. And you can contact me anytime. There's some confetti to remind you how much I like you, and how much I wish that we were together to like enjoy donuts and coffee, because that's kind of like the best part of the conference, right? It's just getting to sit around and chat and have donuts and coffee. And thank you guys again. Please contact me anytime. I'll leave this up for a little while. And I loved seeing your faces today. Oh, what a great joy. I do hope it was entertaining. Thank you. I'm glad it was. Hope I wasn't boring. Yeah, love you guys. Thank you.
Awesome.